Hello, sketchy people. Today, we're going to talk about sketching your new life and why you can't think your way out of feeling stuck. You ever sat in your car in a parking lot, just not moving, not crying even, just sitting there because you genuinely don't know what to do next with your life, but you know you need to do something, whether or not it's your career, your relationship, or who you even are right now. This video is for you. I'm Kristen, and I help primarily women in midlife and beyond get unstuck. I mean, you don't even really have to be midlife or beyond to feel stuck. You just want to know what you're doing for the rest of your life. What are you trying to accomplish? What things are you doing? I help women to figure out how to gain clarity and reinvent themselves to create a new and more rewarding life. Not through more journaling prompts, though those have a lot of validity. Not through positive thinking or manifesting something by talking about it. Nothing woo-woo. Through sketching exercises. I know how that sounds, but stay with me. Here's the thing that nobody tells you about feeling stuck in your life. You can't think your way out of it because the thinking you're doing, the looping, the pro and con lists, the 2 a.m. spiraling while you stare at the ceiling trying to sleep, this is the stuck. That's not you working on the problem. That's your brain spinning its wheels like a truck at a county fair mud run. I'm from the rural Midwest. That's a thing. When it gets stuck like that, when you can't get past the ruminating and the thinking about it and the what am I going to do and I don't know what to do next and maybe I should do this thing and maybe this other thing over here, maybe this other thing over there, and I just can't decide. I just don't know. Like that defaults to linear thinking. One line. A leads to B leads to C. And when you can't find the next logical step, you just give up. You just stop. You get tunnel vision. You feel paralyzed. Look, this is stuck. This is linear. Oops. Linear. Just one line. Just one line. You're going from nowhere to nowhere. You're not making any decisions. You're not moving around. You're not getting creative about what you're going to do. So that's what stuck looks like when you can only think one direction and one way and you can't seem to get out of that. It's just one path and it's a dead end. But creative thinking, actual sketching, doodling, mapping things out on paper with your hands works completely differently and fires completely different parts of your brain. So I'm going to start adding branches to this straight linear line. Maybe they'll branch out over here and over here, and I'll try to turn it around and do it for you. Maybe there's another line here and it'll branch out this way, and just keep making little branches and little ways off of this, off of here, and suddenly I've got a whole bunch of different branches of nonlinear lines that create a picture. It's not linear. It lets your brain make connections that it would never make on a straight line. And that's not a metaphor. It's actual science. That's how the brain actually works. When you get it off a page of text and get it onto a page of shapes. I learned this myself when I was in school, though it took a while to really sink in. Like many Gen X kids, especially girls, because we presented differently, I had undiagnosed ADHD. I could not focus to save my life. I was told that I was a daydreamer. I was told that I was lazy, that I was stubborn. And, well, I was a little stubborn. I spent too much time doodling in the margins of my papers and not enough time doing the actual work on the papers. I was nearly held back one year in 4th grade because I wasn't turning my homework in. I wasn't getting anything done. But testing showed that I was actually working well above my grade level in almost every topic. Unfortunately, nobody told me this, so I spent most of my life thinking I wasn't very smart. I thought I was stupid and that they had just passed me through 4th grade to separate me from my best friend who was held back, or because my 4th grade teacher just did not want to deal with me for a whole school year again. My 5th grade teacher, however, got me. She realized before I did that my doodling was a way to keep just enough of my focus on the teaching that I didn't drift away completely. She gave me a little doodle pad to keep next to my work or to doodle on while she was talking and giving instructions. It kept me with just enough focus on what was going on in class instead of drifting out the window in my daydreams that I did really well that year. I was like a completely different kid. How about that? I still struggled, mind you, through my elementary and junior high days, especially, and even into my freshman and sophomore years of high school, because I didn't realize what my fifth grade teacher was doing. I didn't realize that the act of doodling itself, the act of scribbling and doodling in the margins itself, were helping me to stay focused. And so anytime I was in a class and a teacher was like, Kristen, will you stop drawing comics, please, and get your focus back on me? Well, I'd stop. And then I would drift completely away and not hear another word the teacher said and not get my homework done anyway. I didn't realize until I went back to college in my adulthood. I graduated high school, went to college for a little bit and fell apart. Um, and then at 19 was pregnant and had a baby, and then at 20 got married to her father, and then I was in the practice of trying to take care of my child and get whatever menial jobs I could find. But I decided to go back to school when she was about 6 years old, back to college. And that's when I realized in my adulthood, when my daughter was 6 years old, that using my pen creatively while listening to the lecture was actually a superpower. I graduated with a 4.0 for my bachelor degree and later my master's degree in English, which I took in my 40s. My bachelor's was in psychology. After I discovered this, I never got anything lower than top grades in anything. And I was able to, once I got into the workforce, I was able to actually translate that to working on spreadsheets or Excel sheets and to analyzing data there in my workplace or to helping people with mental illness find resources in their community in a creative way so that they could stay in their community and not end up in a mental hospital or a nursing home. When I taught school, it helped me as both a teacher's aide at some point and then later on as a teacher. It helped me to teach my students that they didn't have to sit in desks in a row and look at the chalkboard and the teacher teaching and then just take it all in by lecture. I taught them to draw pictures around their spelling words, for example, and they learned to spell things forward, backward, right, left, up, and down. They knew it. I taught them the preamble by singing, using that old schoolhouse rock preamble. And by teaching them that through that creative process, whether it be singing or drawing or just thinking in a different nonlinear way, they could learn. And it worked. And I didn't know the science behind it yet. I hadn't done or listened to or read the studies yet. I just knew it had worked for me. So I knew, and who was a really nonlinear thinker, and I knew that it would probably work for other people too. That maybe it wouldn't help everybody and maybe it wouldn't work for everybody, but it would work for most of my students who didn't think in that all desks in a row, look at the teacher, take notes way. In fact, in my work in mental health, doodling helped me to create and put together an online intake assessment for people coming into the youth facility that I worked in for teenagers, 7 years old to 17 years old, to come in who had severe problems or who had been severely abused or other things had happened to them. But it helped me, that creative process and that doodling and thinking about it helped me to create an intake assessment that was not full of yes or no questions, that actually got to the heart of why the person was there or why the person felt that they had been sent there. And it was of very big help when the psychiatrist took them in and saw them to assess them. He already had all of that intake information that I had created along with the IT guy who helped build it online. And it was all from getting my brain out of that linear way of thinking and into that creative brain where I had all kinds of ideas and where I could see where one question might work better than another question. So, doodling and drawing in all of the jobs that I've had, whether working for mental health agencies to help people, help my clients, or teaching middle and high school students how to overcome those learning disabilities and turn them into their own superpowers, it opened up my brain's neurotransmitters and enabled me to help other people connect with theirs too. Even after all of that, I still didn't understand how powerful that was until in my late 40s, I was pushed out of my job. And let's just call it what it was. At the time, it was ageism. And I remember trying to logic my way into a plan of action. And again, every single time I've had a large struggle in my life, almost every single time, as far as work is concerned, as far as creativity is concerned, every single time has been when I forgot. I forgot how doodling and how drawing pictures and doing a little detail work while listening to something or while thinking through something helped me push through. And so I get all blocked up again and think, well, what am I going to do now? I don't know what I'm going to do now. I just got laid off with a whole bunch of other people, and we're all looking for the same kind of work. And they're not going to hire me. They're going to hire the young upstart who doesn't cost as much. They don't think about it in corporations anymore that a long-term employee costs them a whole lot less, even if they're making more, than having every 2 years turnover and having to retrain people all the time. But what do you know? I'm not them. Anyway, after trying to logic my way into a plan, I realized I needed to find something before my unemployment went out. And so I spent a lot of time doing online articles, doing freelance stuff on the internet. And I still, though, suffered a little bit from imposter syndrome because my degree was in psychology. It wasn't in writing and in doing articles for Livestrong and doing all this stuff. And also, they paid diddly squat, so I couldn't survive on that. Nothing moved. When I wrote lists and I created spreadsheets and I wrote to-do lists and I applied for all the jobs and I did all this stuff, nothing worked because I wasn't in that creative thinking sort of brain. The day everything actually shifted was the day I picked up a pen and just started drawing the mess instead of writing about it. This channel is going to show you how to do that. Real tools, real exercises, no art skill required. I cannot stress that enough, okay? You do not need to have some sort of innate talent. That's not really a thing. You know that, right? You don't have to have a talent to draw before this is helpful to you. Will you learn to draw? Yeah, if you follow the instructions and the exercises and stuff like that, you absolutely will. Especially going out and sketching out in the wild, because that helps the brain too. But you don't need to know how to draw before this can be helpful to you. It doesn't matter if you want to be an artist or if you want to be your own self-employed person or if you're considering a change in relationship or if you're considering a move like I am overseas or somewhere else abroad. It doesn't matter what your end goal is. Sketching your way to a new life is possible regardless of your talent. I mean, we did an exercise last week. This with our non-dominant hand. I did this exercise last week drawing with my right hand. I'm a lefty and led people in that exercise and it was really good fun. And the people who watched it, I think, found it interesting and fun. And I talked about the science of how instead of just instead of just typing, which only uses one little tiny bit of your brain, it doesn't fire your neurons. It doesn't get all those parts of your brain moving at the same time and working. But the act of cursive writing or of drawing and sketching and doing all those things and drawing with a non-dominant hand or drawing with one line or any of those things can help you move toward whatever your goal is. Using creative practice to open those new pathways in your brain to change your actual metabolic health. Science is more and more and more figuring out that your metabolic health isn't just physical. It's not just getting good exercise and being at a good weight and eating right and all of that stuff. It's all a combination. It's all a combination. It's not just physical health. it's mental health. And improving the mitochondria in your brain and improving your metabolic health can happen. You can open up and improve your entire metabolic mind by not only improving your physical health, but by also improving your mental health. And creativity is a part of that. It helps with memory. It helps you stave off old age diseases like Alzheimer's. It helps to get rid of that brain fog that's keeping you foggy and unfocused. It helps with so much of that. So this is what my channel is for, not only to teach you how to sketch, which we will do. It won't be long before you're doing a few sketches with pen and ink and watercolor, etc., out in the wild. It won't be long before you're able to see, before you're taking pleasure in being able to do stuff like this, sitting in a cafe and sketching the things that you enjoy sketching. So those things will come, because for those of you who are just here to learn to draw, those things will come. They will happen. But for those of you who are also here because you want to reactivate that creative person in you, because you want to get past things that are blocking you from moving into the life you want to have and always dreamed of having and still struggle to move toward or think you can't. This is for you too. You just need to be willing to learn to get creative, and that starts with scribbling and doodling and writing with the wrong hand and all of that stuff. Now, in my next video, I'm going to show you a 5-minute scribbling exercise that can help you untangle a decision that's been stuck in there and you don't know how to move. So I'm going to talk about that the next time. I hope you hit that thumbs up button and let me know what you think in the comments. What kind of creative practice do you like to do, or would you like to learn? I would love to hear from you. And if you know any of the science, or if you were not aware of the science, I'd like to hear from you there too. What kind of videos would you like to see to help you get into that creative clarity space? And next time we're in that video, we'll do that exercise together, and I'll show you how to go about scribbling your way into making a decision. All right, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that thumbs up. It really will help me in the algorithm. I'm just kind of rebooting my Sketch Your Life channel after a long time. I'm trying to move it from one video a week to more than one video a week. I also have a France channel. It's listed down below because my husband and I are planning a big move to France. But this is my business. This is my work. I'm going to be building a community for people, women who want to sketch their way to a new life. All right. I hope you have a great week. Stay cool out there, y'all. It's going to be a hot 4th of July weekend, and I hope to see you soon.